what does a cold front look like and what does it do? And what does a warm front look like and what does the warm front do? So in the cold front, the cold air mass is relatively more active. In the warm air front, the warm air mass is relatively more active and pushing against the cold air mass. Dono case mein remember, it's always cold pushes from below and the warm rises. Yahan bhi yahi hoga. The cold is pushing below and the warm is rising. Dono case mein kya hoga? Cold is pushing below and the warm is rising upwards. Imagine the front as, I'm just imagining, okay, front as, say a rod or a wood, which is on maybe some stone or a concrete. Imagine a front like this. But on one side, the warm is pushing upwards and the cold is pushing from below. Okay? Imagine the front as something like this. There's a stick or a bamboo or a rod, jo ki koi base mein fit hai. Now you tell me, in which case will the front be pushed from the vertical more when the cold is pushing more actively or when the, when the warm is pushing actively more or when the cold is pushing more? Cold kahan push kar raha hai? Cold is pushing where? Niche. Okay. Warm is pushing where? Above. So tilt kisme hoga? When the warm pushes or when the cold pushes? I said, imagine the front like this. Ek force ye hai aur ek force ye hai. Kis case mein will this one tilt more? Warm, ऊपर से push कर रहे हो ना? यहां से push करो तो क्या होगा? The whole thing will move. Okay, if you push here, the whole thing will move like this. If you push here, it will move, but it will tilt more. So, all of you? So, in which case is the front tilted more with the vertical? Warm front. Because warm is more active and warm is pushing from above. Okay? So, cold fronts, which means these are relatively more vertical. The inclination with vertical is less than 1 degree. Cold fronts are relatively more vertical because the push is more active below. Okay? The inclination with the vertical is less than 1 degree. Whereas in case of the warm front, this is relatively more inclined. The angle with vertical is more than 1 degree, about 2 to 4 degrees ka inclination hota hai. So if I draw the diagram, this is cold, this is warm. This is cold, this is warm. Cold is pushing more actively here, warm rising, but the push is more from the cold. In this case, the cold is pushing here, but the warm is more active. The warm will tilt the front more. The cold front is relatively more vertical. Hamesha warm will rise, always. Always cold will push down. Okay. In this case, the front will move like this. In this case, the front will move like this. This is warm is relatively more active. This is the cold is relatively more active. Okay? Next. Dekho. Cold, warm, cold, warm. Think of a staircase. Think of a staircase. One staircase is more gentle and one staircase is more vertical. For unit horizontal distance covered, in which case will you rise more? जिसका ज्यादा इंक्लिनेशन होगा, किसका वर्टिकल ज्यादा होगा? इन विच केस वी राइज मोर, द वन इज मोर वर्टिकल. Have we got the point here? So compare करने के लिए, to compare this, okay, think of this and say this. Okay. For the same horizontal distance, so from A to B, same distance. Say this is 1 unit. Same distance. This also is 1 unit. जो vertical rise है, this is the vertical rise. And in this case, this is the vertical rise. The same, this horizontal unit, you're rising more in which case? The more vertical one. ठीक है? So if you look at the air mass, in which case is the warm air rising to more heights in the cold front? So in which case will we have more rainfall? Cold fronts. Okay? So cold fronts में क्या है? In the cold fronts, the warm air is rising relatively more height. In this case, the warm air is rising relatively lesser height. Okay? So cold front के case में there is more instability, more rains, and more violent conditions. In the cold front, you'll have more rains and more violent conditions. Because ज़्यादा air rise कर रहा है यहाँ पर. In this case, this is relatively lesser rains. This is relatively more calm conditions. I will not say no rains. Rains होगा, but relatively calm है. This type of fronts, the cold fronts हैं, these are associated with tall clouds and thunderstorms. These are associated with light, continuous drizzle. Warm fronts will have light, continuous light rainfall हो रहा होगा. But cold fronts में tall clouds, thunderstorms होंगे. In which case the air is going to more height? Cold front. So in which case can I have snowfall? Cold front. So cold front, these can be associated with snowfall also. But इस case में the air is not to great heights. इसमें snowfall कम ही होता है और होता ही नहीं. So more violent conditions, more dramatic conditions, tall clouds, thunderstorms, snowfall. In this case, light rains, light drizzle, okay, and less violent, and we will have almost no snowfall. You go back to diagram, जो आपका diagram बनाया था. A more vertical one, more inclined one. Stable दोनों नहीं है. Rising air means instability, no? So please don't call a warm front as stable. Rising air means instability. The issue is, which is more violent? Cold fronts are more violent. Okay, and warm fronts are relatively lesser rains. These clouds will be one type of cumulonimbus. Yes. So this is a cloud, and this is also a cloud. This is a tall cloud. This is not a tall cloud. These clouds are cumulonimbus clouds. They are also called as thunderstorm clouds. ये clouds मिलेंगे आपको cold fronts में. So typically, if I draw the diagram, this is the cold front, this is the cloud. This is the warm front, and these are the clouds. ये बताओ कि रेनफॉल जो है इन द वार्म फ्रंट किसमें हो रहा है रेनफॉल? रेनफॉल इज इन द कोल्ड एयर और इन द वार्म एयर. समझ में आ रहा है ऑल ऑफ यू? ये इमेजिन डायग्राम. रेनफॉल कहां पर होगा? एयर इज राइजिंग हियर, रेनफॉल यहां पर हो रहा है ना. So you will witness rainfall in the which sector? In the cold sector. इस केस में कहां पर होगा? इसमें भी कोल्ड में होगा, उल्टा मत कर देना. Here also the rainfall or snowfall happens from greater heights. Again you will witness in the cold sector. So warm, यहां अगर खड़े हो आपको कुछ दिख नहीं रहा है, यहां पर if you are standing you can see the rainfall, witness the snowfall. Remember this point here, that rains or snow or any precipitation, this is witnessed in the cold sector. It's always witnessed in the cold sector. So yahan par you'll have snowfall, strong winds, rising air, light drizzle. Ye dekho, iska the distance hai, yahan se yahan tak ka distance hai. This part will have, isme kahan hai, yahan se yahan tak ka distance hai. I hope you got the point here. So isme the snowfall is for a short distance. Isme the rainfall is for a longer distance. So which is more dramatic in terms of changes? Cold. Heavy rainfall, khatam. Heavy snowfall, finish. Yahan par rainfall continuously for a very long time. Light continuous drizzles, but no snowfall. Okay? So cold condition, isliye maine kaha, the cold front has more violent conditions. It has more dramatic changes. No rainfall, dry conditions, sudden snowfall, again dry conditions. Okay. No rainfall, rainfall continuous for a long time, and then dry conditions. So this is more dramatic changes. This is for light rains for a longer time. You don't have to by heart all of this. Agar mechanics samajh mein aa gaya, then you know you can write a short note on what are cold fronts or warm fronts. The fundamental yahi hai that the cold front is relatively more vertical. A cold front forces more vertical rise. A warm front is relatively more inclined to the vertical, and therefore the changes are not as dramatic. Cold front, warm front. What is the sequence in the weather change? Important discussion hai. What is the sequence in the weather change? Cold pushing, warm pushing and rising. Cold pushing, warm pushing and rising also here. Say, think of this as A, this as B, this as X, and this is Y. Agar cold more active hai, how is the whole system moving? From B towards A or A towards B? It's moving from your right towards your left. Okay? In this case, which is more active? The warm. So how is the system moving? From your left towards your right. If an observer wants to see the changes because of the cold front, where will he stand? In the warm sector or in the cold sector? Kahan khade honge? The system is moving from your right towards the left. और मुझे देखना है, the front is passing over me, and how is the climate changing or the weather changing? Where will I stand? Yes, so analogically, my knowledge always is, you want to experience how it feels when the train runs over you. तो आप कहाँ खड़े होंगे? ट्रेन के सामने खड़े होंगे. You always stand in front of the front. So in this case, कौन सा front होगा? यहाँ पर होगा. It's moving like this. The observer will stand in the warm sector. ठीक है? To witness this train, जो ऐसे चल रहा है, आप कहाँ खड़े होंगे? You stand in the cold sector. Now you will tell us, how is the weather changing when the front is passing over the observer? How is the weather changing when the front passes over the observer? I repeat, nothing has to be memorized or by-hearted mechanically. अगर आप ये समझ जाते हैं, where you stand, what you observe, then you can tell me the answer now. Do you all understand this point here? So for observing cold front changes, the observer stands in the warm sector. To observe the warm front changes, you must stand in the cold sector. ठीक है? So in either cases में cold is always pushing below. The warm is always pushing above. Question is कौन सा ज्यादा एक्टिव है? इसे एग्जांपल दिया था. If the cold pushes here, warm pushes here, ये ऐसे tilt हो जाएगा. If the cold pushes here, the tilt कम होगा. Pushing here will move this more. So warm front tilts more, but the warm front moves less. A cold front tilts less, but a cold front moves more. Is that man all of you here? When you are pushing in a room में आप room change कर रहे होगे ना, आपको अलमीरा push करना है. आप कहाँ push करोगे? नीचे से कि ऊपर से? If you push ऊपर से, tilt ज़्यादा होगा. Okay, but if you push from below, you will move it more. Now watch. This observer, what does he feel and what will it change? When he's in the warm sector, so क्या लग रहा होगा? He is feeling warm. Then what happens? As the cold comes near, क्या होगा? The temperature starts to fall. It becomes more and more cooler. ठीक है? He is in the warm sector, is feeling warm, and the cold front is coming. So as it comes nearer, he'll feel more and more warm. So more and more cold. In the warm sector, what happens to pressure? Warm में ज़्यादा pressure या cold में ज़्यादा pressure? ठीक है? This is low pressure. So when in the warm, the pressure is low and it increases progressively. Rising air will have low pressure. Pushing down will have high pressure. So with the approaching cold front, the pressure increases. With the approaching cold front, the temperature falls. In the warm air, the sky is clear. So it is clear sky. It is scattered cumulus clouds. Cumulus clouds are what type of clouds? Are they fair weather clouds or are they rain clouds? Life में scenery बनाया है, formula scenery. ना एकदम formula वाला. ये भी कर देते हैं. Some of you will get creative here. Some of you will have this. अभी तो समझ में नहीं आया why all of them will always have a coconut tree. Maybe because of the Indianness. Some of you will have a boat also. ठीक है? ये जो formula में ये जो cloud बनाया आपने, this is what? This is where your geography had begun. This is cumulus cloud. And this is always what? Fair weather. Cumulus clouds are not same as cumulonimbus clouds. ठीक है? Oh, I forgot. ये भी आप करते हो ना? एक छोटा एक बड़ा. I don't know why. ठीक है? So in the warm air, you will have cumulus clouds. Cumulus clouds are fair weather clouds. Cumulus clouds, these are fair weather clouds. Is a bright sky. Fair weather clouds, bright sky. Now when the front comes, अब क्या होगा? The clouds change to what? Thunderstorm clouds. Heavy rains. Fair weather clouds, now you will have thunderstorm clouds, heavy rains. You'll also have a snowfall, and all of this you can see in the cold sector. The clouds change to thunderstorm clouds, heavy rainfall, snowfall, but in the cold sector. So आप इधर आ चुके हो. That's how you will start witnessing the rainfall here, the snowfall here, the rainfall here. You are in the cold sector. ठीक है? और ये changes are long lived or short lived? Short lived. So ये जो violent weather है, the violent weather is short lived. That's why we call this as, this is therefore dramatic, violent conditions हैं. बहुत जल्दी change होगा. So the weather changes are short lived. उसके बाद क्या है? You are in the cold sector and there is clear sky with high clouds. कोल्ड सेक्टर में हाई क्लाउड्स होते हैं. You have entered the cold sector, rainfall is over, now you are in the clear sky, okay, bright sky, but you are in the cold sector. So nothing to by heart here, okay? So you are in the warm sector, you are feeling warm, the pressure is low, the pressure starts to fall, it starts feeling more and more cooler, okay? There are cumulus clouds, bright sky, you hit the front, dark clouds, heavy rainfall, snowfall. Okay, then the sky clears off. It is cold conditions, high clouds. Okay, you are in the cold sector. Now come towards the warm front. The warm front. It's moving towards this. So observer is in the cold sector. So cold sector में कैसा conditions होता है? You are feeling cool. There is high pressure. There are high clouds. And it is clear sky. Okay. Now there is approaching warm fronts. अब आप बताओ क्या होने वाला है? The warm fronts, there will be rain clouds, but not cumulonimbus clouds, not thunderstorm clouds. The more common clouds will be nimbostratus clouds. They are layers of clouds. Okay. And these clouds will cause light, continuous drizzle. These are nimbostratus clouds. They'll cause light, continuous drizzle. There is no snowfall. The weather changes relatively longer duration. Okay, then you enter the warm sector. Okay, the sky clears off. And it's now, okay, cumulus clouds and fair weather. Fair and warm weather. There are cumulus clouds now. There are cumulus clouds. And the weather is warm and fair. ये straight question है. Compare, contrast warm front weather from the cold front weather. All done? आपका यही फॉर्मूला है, nothing else. Remember, the cold has more vertical and the cold is moving like this. The warm is more inclined and the warm is moving like this. Cold में you will have tall clouds. Warm में you will have light drizzle clouds. That's all. इसके बाद तो you are on.